Sean and I are starting a celebrity life abroad with his $3 million. I can't survive if we stay together and divorce. Want to know our address? Lick my shoes first. What? What are you talking about? What do you mean? I couldn't make heads or tails of what Sissy, my mother-in-law, was saying. There was no sign of her preparing for a life abroad or saving money. So, as I was saying, Sean got his hands on $3 million. We're set for a lavish life overseas, just the two of us. Why would my husband Sean go abroad? And what's this about $3 million? Why are you so curious? Well, if you're that desperate to know, maybe if you lick my shoes and beg, I might tell you. What kind of thing is that to say? Where's Sean? We're living the high life with Sean's $3 million. You're no longer needed. I was stunned by Sissy's words. How could Shauna suddenly acquire $3 million and live luxuriously abroad? And Sissy talked about it so frivolously, as if I were an outsider. My heart was filled with anger and anxiety, but I needed to stay calm and understand the situation. How on earth did Sean come into such a fortune? Could that $3 million possibly be? I'm Mariah. I work as a manager at a major IT company. I met Sean in the same department and was drawn to his bright personality, leading to our marriage. In the beginning, Sean's parents warmly welcomed me. Our daughter Rothy is now 14. I grew up in poverty with parents who were a bad influence. Having faced tough times, I'm committed to raising Rothy with deep love, balancing work and home life. But then, Sean was assigned to a project in a remote area and had to go there alone. I'm worried about living with Rothy without you. It's tough managing work, household, and Rothy. I've got an idea. Let's have Mom come over to help with chores and childcare. That might be a relief. That's how I agreed to live with Sissy. Mom, when will Dad come back? Rothy asked. He'll be in the countryside for a while. But don't worry, Grandma is coming to stay with us. And so Sissy moved into our house. Little did I know that this decision would become my biggest regret. You're working late again today. This is why women who don't care about their families are... As soon as I returned home from work, Sissy's words hit me like a dagger. Sissy, I have a job too, and I'm taking care of Rothy. I retorted, but Sissy was unconvinced. In my younger days, family was everything. The thought of working outside was unimaginable. Then, on a day Rothy brought home good grades, Sissy said, It would have been impossible with just you. It's all thanks to me. What's your purpose even? Aren't you unnecessary? Despite me teaching Rothy most of her language and math, and Sissy only helping with home economics homework. When I slightly messed up the seasoning in a dish, Sissy criticized. Your homemaking skills, especially cooking, need work. How did you and Sean manage before? Sissy, I'm doing my best, and everyone has their own way of managing household chores. My frustration reached its peak. Make sure you educate her properly. Sissy even started complaining to Sean. Mom, Mariah is working too. Try to understand a bit. Sean said, trying to reason with her, but it wasn't enough for me. Living together, my relationship with Sissy steadily deteriorated. With Sean far away, I felt increasingly isolated. One day, I called Sean for advice. Hello? Is now a good time? Yeah, it's fine. What's up? It's late. I've been getting criticized by Sissy about the housework, and it's starting to stress me out. Sorry, Mom's always been a bit harsh, but she might have a point. Don't worry too much, just go at your own pace. Taking some comfort in Sean's words, I resolved to persevere in my daily life. I spent my days longing for Sean's return. As Sean's absence stretched on due to a solo assignment, I continued to live my everyday life with Sissy. However, during Sean's absence, the pressure of Sissy's words intensified, and I grew increasingly exhausted from the stress. Sissy criticized everything I did, from morning till night, finding fault in all I undertook. When I made Sean's favorite mixed rice, she coldly remarked, This is terrible. Who'd eat this? And if I took even a short break, A woman who can't handle her housework has no right to rest, she would snap. I never had much confidence in household chores. Sean used to laugh off my shortcomings, but in front of Sissy, they were inexcusable. I think Sissy's harassment stems from her excessive love for Sean. She seems unable to accept that Sean has left her for marriage. It's a stark reminder not to become such an overbearing parent. One day, after some shopping at the local mall for relaxation, Sissy found out. As I arrived home, she was waiting furious. Unbelievable, going out to play when Sean's not home. What about the housework? I thought I needed a break. A break? In this situation? With your uselessness, I'm struggling here. Afterward, I found myself waiting for a call from Sean. I believed hearing his voice would bring me some relief, but what he said was unexpected. Things aren't going well with the project here, and I've gotten into gambling and debt. What? Gambling and debt? How bad is it? What about our life? Rothy's future? I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. I'll figure it out, just trust me. How exactly will you fix it? How much debt? I'm working on a solution. Despite thinking of Sean as someone far removed from gambling, always sincere and dependable. Since we met, he never once was late for a date, and after we started living together, he always came home right after work. Whenever I cooked or did laundry, he never failed to express his gratitude. I married him because of his sincerity and earnestness. But during Sean's absence, no matter how hard I tried, Sissy's criticism never ceased. To think someone useless like you married Sean, I can't believe it. Despair swirled in my heart. Ever since Sean started his solo assignment, I endured Sissy's harsh daily criticisms. And Sean's recent confession only deepened the despair in my heart. His gambling debt problem. And then Sissy's relentless condemnations following it. Unable to endure any longer, I left the house in the middle of the night and sat on a bench in a nearby park crying. One day, Sissy discovered my secret. At dinner, she confronted me with it. You used to work at a club, didn't you? A mother like you working there, how shameful. Why do you know that? I showed your photo to an acquaintance while talking about Sean's useless wife. They recognize you. Seems you were incompetent even at the club. In the past, fed up with a mother who hardly worked and just played with men, I left home and lived alone. I was struggling financially and worked at a club. It was my past before marrying Sean. A secret even Sean didn't know. I was at a loss for words. I had never imagined Sissy finding out about my past work. In using that past as a weapon, she attacked me further. I can't accept a woman like you as my granddaughter's mother. I'll tell Sean and get you thrown out of the house. My heart sank further into despair. My marriage to Sean, all my efforts, and our future together. It all felt like it could be taken away by Sissy's single statement. Contact from Sean became even more infrequent. I feared that doubts and mistrust were growing in Sean's heart towards me. One night, I reflected on my life in my room, meeting and marrying Sean. The current situation and the endless condemnations and attacks from Sissy. I felt I couldn't take it anymore. I'm at my limit. Muttering this, I left the room and walked into the night. The night streets were as dark and lonely as the despair in my heart. Sissy's words echoed in my mind. My past, my secret, and my present, all targeted by Sissy's criticism. I sat on a bench in a park late at night, looking up at the sky. There were no stars in sight. My heart was equally shrouded in darkness. Suddenly, someone approached. Mom, you're here? Rothy sat next to me, holding my hand. Mom, don't worry about Grandma. You're working hard in an IT company. It's proof of your struggle to live. Thank you, but maybe Grandma has a point. Mom, Grandma is trapped in old values. In this era, no matter what job you've done, you should be proud of it. I'm proud that you worked at a club. Really? Yeah, because you've always worked hard for our family, no matter the difficulties. Don't be swayed by Grandma's words. Rothy's words warmed my heart and tears fell. Mom, you're working hard in IT now. That's impressive enough. No matter what Grandma says, I'm on your side. I was filled with gratitude for Rothy. Her support gave me new hope that I could overcome any difficulty. I took a deep breath in front of the pile of documents in Sean's study. Carefully reviewing each one, I began to unravel Sean's secrets. Bank statements, credit card bills, loan contracts. The details of Sean's financial transactions gradually became clear. Why did it come to this? Receipts from gambling venues kept appearing. Horse racing, pachinko, casinos. Thinking about how much money Sean had spent on these made my heart ache. Next, I turned on Sean's computer. The password was his birthday, reversed. Hale's mailbox was filled with urgent emails from financial institutions and messages from friends demanding repayment. There were also many advertisements from gambling sites. I decided to calculate the total amount Sean had gambled away. The result was a staggering $3 million, far beyond my expectation. Confronted with this sum, I momentarily panicked. But there was no time to despair. I began to plan securing funds for our living expenses. I calculated the expected amount from selling valuable household items in my savings, plus what I could save from my salary. I continued my investigation, which financial institutions Sean borrowed from and how much. To get details, I contacted banks and obtained credit information in Sean's name, working tirelessly every day. A few days later, I had a plan. I devised a way to repay Sean's debts and started preparing for a life without relying on Sissy. Leveraging my IT experience, I decided to take on freelance projects. A few days later, I created a portfolio and registered on a freelance job website. Soon after, I received my first client request. This would help with our living expenses. In between work, I reviewed our household budget. I canceled unnecessary subscriptions, cut wasteful spending, and researched budget-friendly recipes. I successfully reduced our daily food expenses. Following tips from local mom friends, I tried selling at a community flea market. Selling my branded items and unused appliances, I made a decent income. Weeks later, my freelance activities were going well, and I felt the stability in my income. My bank account now had enough to cover our living expenses. When I got home, Sissy's belongings were gone. At the same moment, my phone rang. It was Sissy. "Are you home already? Did you see our stuff?" "What do you want?" "Sean and I are starting a celebrity life abroad with his $3 million. We can't live here if we divorce. Want to know our address? Lick my shoes first." I couldn't help but laugh. Actually, that $3 million is debt. Stop joking. Sean couldn't possibly have that much debt. It's hard to believe, but it's true. In Sean's study drawer, there are transaction records and contracts from banks and financial institutions, credit card bills, and his PC has urgent emails and messages about gambling. If you don't believe me, check for yourself. That's a lie. It's the result of Sean getting into gambling. Horse racing, pachinko, casinos. Adding it all up, it's $3 million. I just sent you photos on WhatsApp as proof. Take a look. I had no idea about this. He probably didn't want you to know. But the fact remains. I was thinking about how to handle this huge debt, but I guess I don't have to worry about it now, do I? Sissy stayed silent for a moment, then sighed. I had no idea. I don't know what to say. I hung up without saying anything. I resolved to start a new life. Shocked by Sean and Sissy's actions, but now I have no choice but to move forward for Rothy and myself. Later, Sean called. I'm sorry. Really sorry. His voice was quieter than I'd ever heard, almost crushed. But his voice did not quell my anger. How did it come to this? Because of you, our family is falling apart. I didn't think it would come to this, but when I decided to go abroad with Mom, I couldn't see a future with you and Rothy. I was dumbfounded by his words. Couldn't see a future? Your carelessness and lack of planning brought our family to this. I know, but it's too late now. I have a promise with Mom. A promise? At the cost of Rothy's future for your own paradise? Sean was silent for a while. Did you really love our family? I did, but now... His voice trailed off, and I heard him crying. Don't hurt us anymore. Rothy and I will live on our own. I'll forget about you. Sean didn't respond. I could only hear his crying on the other end. I gently hung up. The reason Sissy mistook assets for debt was a sudden $3 million bill that arrived at home. She mistook the bill for a lottery win. They pursued their dream of moving abroad, with Sissy bringing the idea to Sean. Sean, unaware of Sissy's misunderstanding, thought starting a new life abroad could be an escape for his debt problems, so he accepted the proposal. Mistaking a bill for a lottery win notice. I then started looking for a lawyer, harboring my anger towards Sean. I began preparations for a divorce, claiming compensation and child support. This marked the start of a new life. A life for me and Rothy, independent of Sean and Sissy. I consulted with a lawyer about the divorce settlement and child support claims. During this time, Rothy and I spent a lot of time together, and she became my strong supporter. She understood my decision and chose to stay with me. Hearing her words, I felt rewarded for the hard times I endured with Sean and Sissy, and tears welled up. Meanwhile, Sissy and Sean struggled with their life abroad. They faced continuous problems due to poor preparation and financial issues. After being robbed, they lost their funds and faced further difficulties due to the language barrier. Eventually, they were deported as illegal immigrants. I then had a discussion with Sean through the lawyer. The divorce is finalized. You'll be paying the compensation and child support in one lump sum, right? Thank you. Now I can finally start a new life. But in one lump sum? Maybe in installments. If you couldn't afford it, you shouldn't have agreed in the first place. I insist on a lump sum. Sean later took on more debt, borrowing from dubious lenders, almost like something out of an urban legend. His whereabouts afterward are uncertain, but that's not my concern. After canceling her rental and being robbed of all her savings, Sissy was forced into homelessness upon returning to the United States. Rothy and I started our new life. Life wasn't easy, but freed from Sean and Sissy, we were able to look forward to the future with optimism. I want to live happily with Rothy, who saved me from rock bottom, working together in cooperation.